This is Five Live Bears Podcast, part 2 of the Last Jedi review.
Spoiler alert.
We will be doing our spoiler alert here in just a couple seconds. If you didn't listen to part 1, this is a major spoiler episode that we're doing, and we just want to make sure everybody understands that. So we're going to give you a couple seconds to step out if you haven't seen The Last Jedi. Spoilers.
Spoiler.
Couple more seconds of spoiler, and then we'll
One
be
more
ready.
second to get your headphones off. Now,
All right.
if you're not ready, here you go.
Okay.
You ready? You ready?
So
Luke
we were-
Skywalker died.
So we were kind of bashing the movie, but let's talk about a scene I really liked was when Luke got on the Millennium Falcon
Yes.
and R2-D2 woke up.
Yes.
I thought that was a great scene, but I felt like we need a whole lot more R2-D2 in this
a
movie.
whole lot more of R2.
Well, and that was what I was looking is like, okay, R2D2, C3PO. I feel about the droids the way Tim does about the Ewoks and the Porgs. I'm a big droid guy, like the droids, and so I was hoping for a little bit more droids in this. The scene with Luke Skywalker going on to the Millennium Falcon was really good.
especially because Chewie was eating a porg.
Yeah, that
right
was
outside
good.
the thing.
He
And-
did not eat the porg.
And-
You don't know that he did.
in front of the porgs.
He
Well,
scared him
He
off.
waited for them to leave before he
Get
ate
outta
their,
here,
ate their
Mike.
brother.
We
Your
should have
brother.
probably said this a little
You
bit.
shoot them all to the fire.
We probably should have said this a little bit sooner on the part 1, but you would think we actually hated this movie. I mean, that's the kind of the way it's kind of sounding the way we're going, is we're just kind of trashing it. I didn't hate it. I mean, I liked the movie. I mean, but the problem was
It had a lot of flaws.
it underperformed for me. That was the whole thing. It was just underperformed. And so as we go on, we'll be talking about the things we do like, and there are things in this movie that we did like. To be honest with you,
So-
porgs.
well, I liked the Casino Planet. I just didn't like the idea or the plot and the way they drove the plot for that planet.
Yeah.
Because Star Wars is full of these type places.
Well, when they first get to Casino Planet and which none of us know the name of this planet, and they go into the casino and it's showing all the different aliens and that's a nice scene. It's like, oh, we're back at Mos Eisley or whatever, and they're playing kind of a similar music to that, and you've got practical effect looking aliens, not grossly terrible CGI aliens, and you're like, oh, this is gonna be this could be cool, and then it was just
it was just the
down its
plot
leg.
kind of ran off on that one a little bit. Then we move on. Where do we move on from there, Aaron? I don't have my list.
So
in front of me.
let's start getting everybody back to the action. So they found their little stuttering Lando. They're heading back, and now Rey has left because she's going to go confront Kylo Ren because she thinks she can turn him.
right.
So here's one of my big plot holes: is the whole movie they make the big deal about the tracking device that Finn took from Leia,
yeah.
so that Rey could find them. But he's not there, and Rey just shows up without using the tracking
Well,
device.
she had the Force connection that drew her there.
Oh, was the, so
Yeah.
was the Force connection? Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
But they seem
well-
to make this big deal about that tracking device that never really came into play.
Well, and it was the Force. It was if you want to play into it, and they never said this, but it to me, I kind of read between the lines and thought that probably it was Snoke that was drawing her there,
Could've been.
because I mean he's already been manipulating everybody throughout this entire movie.
Ooh, let's get on to Snoke. The things we
Yeah.
kind of skipping over. They go and show back when Luke had the Jedi Academy, and
Which once again was a good scene. It was
yes,
an incredible
and
scene.
it was good from both scenarios. Kylo Ren felt Luke turned on him. Luke felt that Kylo, he couldn't control him, and come to find out that it was Snoke kind of pulling all the strings and all of it. Anyways,
Which just thinking about it is a really interesting thing, because that goes back to Ben Kenobi in Return of the Jedi when he tells Luke that the truth is a truth only from a certain point of view.
and you know the great contrast there as the second set of trilogies is meant to be. It's a contrast to the original trilogies. In that scenario, Luke Skywalker is Ben Kenobi, and Kylo Ren is Anakin Skywalker. I mean, he is failing his pupil just as Ben failed Anakin, and so there is that comparison.
But he never hit the high ground.
Luke had the high ground, and he got beat.
This is true.
It did flip it on there.
I mean, did he really have the high ground, or was it just that that Ben was laying down.
Well,
I mean,
Ben-
technically is the high ground, but
I mean, isn't that the
Only thing that made that better is if Ben had rolled on and be like, "What are you doing?" That would have been
if he wasn't wearing a shirt,
like wearing a shirt, but like,
pants
"Hello."
hiked up to his armpits, and he rolls over to him and he goes, "Let the past die."
the sand is rough, not like you.
I couldn't wear a shirt.
So we get to Snoke, and by the way, I thought Snoke was a good character.
Snoke was a great character.
Very powerful with the Force. He was a great bad guy. He
Had
was.
an awesome gold robe.
He didn't look. He didn't look like terrible CGI. Or it looked like a good villain. Charlie's got his knife out right now. I don't know what's
There was a
going on.
tag on my headphones and it was bothering me, so I cut it off.
Charlie just about electrocuted
And so like
everybody down
Snoke
there.
is great, and
Especially when he had the lightsaber hit Ray in the back of the head.
yeah, he's.
I love that.
She grabs the lightsaber and he just flips it around and smacks her in the back of the head. And, whoa.
Yeah.
And then he's in the movie for like 10 minutes and they kill him.
Well,
That's
is
a great scene.
Which is a great scene again, but it totally killed all the mystery of Snoke. He's done. He's dead. He was, as Jahan said upstairs, he was this great and powerful leader of the new order, and we know nothing about him.
well, and the thing about it was with me was the fact that I liked how they kind of played up how naive Rey was being as far as the way she was being manipulated by Kylo Ren and Snoke.
Right.
Is because and Luke's trying to in his defense at this point, Luke's like, no, this is not going to end, because he says this is not going to end how you think it's going to end. And she's like, oh yes, it will. I'll be able to turn him.
Oh yes.
And she goes, and it looks like she's going to.
Right.
And that was the cool part about that scene. That actually was a really well. That was a real.
That whole scene inside of Snoke's throne room or whatever is all good. All of it's good.
It's the best scene in the movie,
Well, I would say it's.
easily.
I mean, in my opinion, other than the Han Solo death scene and Force Awakens, it's probably the best in either of those two movies.
Right.
I mean, and in my opinion on that, because the way they set it up was, I literally did think that he was going to turn. I thought, oh, I'm gonna get one of these fan theories of mine right, and it looked like they were going to. And the part of it that was really was really cool to me was how Snoke was so involved with the ideal of getting Rey, that he lost
Well,
his concentration with Kylo Ren.
I think there's this good thing that Kylo does there that is very subtle. Is so Snoke brings the lightsaber to Kylo. Kylo's holding it up to him, and Kylo is thinking about turning a lightsaber on and killing. And so when Snoke's reading that, he's thinking he's turning the lightsaber on to kill, and he doesn't realize he's turning on the lightsaber to kill Snoke. And so, I think that's really shows some of Kylo's power, and that he can focus on one thing while focusing on something else also.
Which is something you don't see a lot in any of the other, and even dare I say in my highly vaunted Darth Vader, you don't see that ability. And I guess going back to even like the Force Awakens, where he stops the bolt, the blaster bolt, which is one of the best scenes in any Star Wars movie.
The very first scene
then
of Force
I guess
Awakens.
you can say, yeah, that does make him show him where he is more powerful than Darth Vader, because Darth Vader never stopped him; they just hit him in the hand. And the idea that, and the thing I liked about it is that, and not that I like to see him kill Snoke in this, because I'll get to my opinion on that here in a second, but is that just the smugness that Snoke was showing.
Right.
Then all of a sudden you hear this, and it just
looks down
comes out the
and
front of him, and he just
like 6 pieces.
And for us, where we were at in the theater, everybody just goes
Guys,
nuts.
Aaron, was your theater nuts?
No, it was quiet.
Man,
Ours was
John was like leading the cheers in our theater.
I stood up, was fist pumping
He
and
was
everything.
Like, everybody, give me a R, give me an E, give me a Y. It was ridiculous.
And the funny thing was, people were doing it.
They
so,
were. Everybody was like, ah.
And I was running up and down the tops of the seats, high fiving people.
It was out of control.
Well, but that was the cool thing about it is that scene the way it was done and the way people responded to it was, it's going to may sound hokey, but that was Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's what you should have been doing for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Is this type of response. And
Right.
at that moment, I was like, man, okay, it's turning a corner. This is going to turn the corner. The first 200 hours of this movie were just set up.
Aaron's probably going to say it, and so I'll let him say it. But this is where Aaron, I feel like, said something earlier to me that's perfect about after this scene. Aaron, what should have happened?
Okay. Well, so them fighting back to back is totally awesome. Them fighting all the guards. I love that scene. Loved it. And then meanwhile, there's a mutiny going on the ship. We'll kind of skip all that. But what ends up happening is Laura Dern, Admiral Hola, whatever her name is, she sacrifices herself by going to light speed into the enemy ships. And that is an amazing scene.
Yes.
It is.
And so me sitting there, I'm like, okay, we're done. Let's get out of here. And then the movie kept going. And I was like, this is a good stopping point. What are you doing, movie? You just had your climax. Let's go. And then there's this whole third act.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, if the
so
movie would have stopped right there.
So
go ahead.
I
sorry.
feel like this was almost a great Star Wars movie. It came really close, and then they just messed it up. So picture the movie has happened the way it happened up to this point. But then Rey says, or Kylo Ren says, hey, Rey, let's go find your parents together. Let's put all this fighting behind us. This is not our war. And they just leave together. So now the rebels are like, where did she go? You know, and instead of Laura Dern sacrificing herself, what if Leia was the one that sacrificed herself?
That we had talked about that.
Yeah. And then you have
And
Luke show up.
Then Luke shows up, and Laura Dern slaps Luke in the face, saying, "Where were you? We needed you." So now he's trying to pull the piece of the rebellion back together. In the movie, right there, boom. This would have been an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And and that was the problem I had with the scene with Kylo Ren. You get to the point, and he's like, and it's this incredible scene. We're back on track. It's the movie's going to be awesome from this point forward, because up to this point, I know it sounds like we've been trashing it, but it hadn't been bad to this point. It'd been underwhelming, as I keep saying, but it had not been a horrible movie. It's not a horrible movie. But then we get this point, and Kylo Ren starts this thing about, oh, well, I know who your parents are. And I thought, oh, here it comes.
Here it comes.
Here it comes, because we've just had this awesome fight scene.
He's like, you know who they are too. And you're like,
Say
yes,
it.
yes.
And
it's Han.
She
It's Han Solo's your dad.
just threw a lightsaber, and he caught it with the Force and put it through a guy's head.
Yeah.
This is amazing. It's going to be good. And all of a sudden he goes, your parents were junkers, and they never loved you. They sold you for booze.
And you're just like,
And it goes bloop, underwhelming. You know, and you're like, what? And she's like, oh, okay. And it's just kind of like, what? What? You mean we built up all the way through The Force Awakens for this incredible payoff, and this is what we
let me get
get?
this straight. You cast somebody that looks exactly like a young Padme, exactly like a young Princess Leia, that looks like she's from this family's storyline, and she's just the kid of some drunk people on a planet?
It's like,
And I don't have to have everybody connected, but you were dropping all these hints like crazy and saying, hey, there's a big mystery here. There's going to be a big payoff. And then there's nothing.
But do you believe that might have possibly been just Kylo Ren trying to manipulate her?
I mean, it can. But as Charlie
I hope
said
so,
earlier,
but I don't know.
It would bother me if, like, no, actually, your parent, you're my sister. You know, in
I'm
the
not saying it
third
was his
film.
sister, but I'm saying that he's manipulating her, that he doesn't even know who she is.
I don't know.
You know, that he doesn't know him because he's feeding her lines. I mean, okay, we've already established that she's naive. Okay, it's established. She's got Luke Skywalker's young naivety to however you say the word. Naivete. And here she comes up, and all of a sudden she's believing this guy who's been manipulating her through the entire. Okay, he in Force Awakens, he's this horrible person, you know, and he did all these things, and in this one, all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm gonna turn him back
But
to
like,
being
I
good.
think that's my gripe is you don't know if Kylo is legitimately manipulating her, or he's generally having this internal conflict because his character is so inconsistent. I think.
But I think the thing about it is it's, I don't necessarily know if it's inconsistency or it's just, once again, you have this where he doesn't he doesn't control his emotions well enough
I mean-
because he understands that he's still trying to be like Darth Vader, who'd had no. I mean, even though Darth Vader, by the time you see him in A New Hope, is an older man and he's uses anger and everything for his advantage. You never see in that trilogy where he goes off the cuff and starts just slashing things. I mean, he doesn't lose control of his emotions. He uses the anger of his emotions to keep him strong. But Kylo Ren just simply does not have the maturity to do that. So it's just kind of this back and forth with him. It's just this contrasting within him. But my thing about it is that we get to that point, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, her parents are just drunkards, and it just underwhelms the movie again because everybody's
Once
expecting this
again,
massive payoff.
It's just a giant tease.
Well, and that's like I said upstairs. That was the problem I had with it. Is it underwhelms everything, and why in the world would you put, whether or not it's, unless there's some master plan that we don't see,
Right.
why in the world would you put these payoffs in the second of 3 movies? Those payoffs are supposed to come at the end of the 3rd movie. You don't.
Yep.
I mean, I understand that you put, Return of the Jedi, or excuse me, Empire Strikes Back. Luke, I am your father. The biggest plot in the history of any science fiction movie.
Actually, the loud is no.
I know, yes, I
I'm your
know,
father.
but I'm using that because
Shut up,
reference.
Charlie.
I know it's.
I
No,
just
I am
said
your
it before
father.
you could. Don't get mad.
But okay, let me get on with my rant. But at the same time,
Charlie's a professional hat thrower.
they
You
didn't.
got a little bitty head.
Me and Aaron are going to talk here. At the same
grown-ups are going to talk right now.
at the same time, what they didn't do was
Let the grown-ups
is that
talk
they
about
didn't
Star
say,
Wars.
"No, I am your father," and then 5 minutes later has reconciled with his dad and they're flying off together.
And there's 45 more minutes of the
There's
movie.
45 minutes at the end. So that was the problem I had with this. And it's the same thing with Snoke. Okay, you got this incredible this incredible character. People are invested. They were so invested in his death that the entire theater almost stood up and cheered when it happened. Why didn't you save his death to the midsection of the 3rd movie or even to the end? So now what is going to be the payoff for the 3rd movie?
Yeah.
Why do I need to go see it?
So, and just to get back to that, let me jump back just a little bit. There's a scene with Luke and Yoda where Yoda's
Oh,
telling
man.
him,
Good scene.
That was absolutely amazing.
In the roller coaster.
but
Vintage
this is
Yoda.
the Jedi have come to an end. This is it's time to move past the Jedi. He keeps saying that, and that's why I thought that Kylo Ren and Rey should have left together, saying, "Hey, this Jedi Sith thing, we don't care. We're gonna go figure something else out and leave."
But
I thought that would have been so interesting, but then that was a theme of the movie.
it's
And
not
then
the
they-
Last Jedi because there's Rey and then there's
Ex-
Tiny Tim at the end.
Well,
with his
and-
bird.
exactly.
But I think that's what
Please,
I think
sir,
that's
may
kind
I
of what
have more force?
I think that's what Kylo Ren kind of said that though. When he was after he killed Snoke, he was like, "Hey, let's do this together. There's
Yeah.
no more Jedi. There's no more Sith. There's no more war for us. Let's just fix it."
But she told him not to go down that way.
Yeah, which of course that's the same way that Darth Vader had gone before him.
Sure.
This is my empire. And that's kind of the legacy of that Skywalker group. And she didn't want to follow that. But I'm with Aaron on that. That would have been a great way to do it.
Like if they would have had the Yoda and Luke scene, the Rey and Kylo scene, and then Leia destroyed the thing by sacrificing herself and ended it right there, it would have been really well done.
I would have liked to have seen, well, I guess maybe it would have been better for the 3rd movie, but also the Phasma and Finn fight.
Well, and there's another one, Aaron. That's another underwhelming thing that they did.
Phasma's terrible.
They did. Okay.
I like Phasma.
Okay. So in this
Why are you
movie,
such a misogynist, Tim?
in the second movie, they have killed Snoke. They have said that Rey's parents are trailer trash, and they have possibly killed Phasma. Okay, so what do we have for the 3rd movie now?
And Aaron and I talked about that earlier today.
And Luke's
There's nothing really to look forward to for the 3rd
Other
movie.
than Kylo Ren still being out there, I felt like you could have told me, "Okay, this is episode 9. It's over," and I was okay. I'm good.
yeah,
the movie was over.
it's like they had flipped the movies. The Yoda scene when he walks up and you see the back of Yoda's head, I was like, "Oh, this is it. This is gonna be awesome."
Good.
And he even goes in and he says that he's pass on what you have learned. That's what he tells Luke. And I thought it was awesome when Luke's like, "I'm going to burn this to the ground.
Yeah, and he's like,
I'm going to burn this mother to the ground."
and Yoda just
Yoda's
drops the
like,
lightning down and then literally does like a knee slap.
And that was just absolutely amazing. And having Frank Oz and having it being a practical effect
Yeah.
was beyond anything. Because
So
at first
good.
I thought, oh, here we go, it's going to be the prequel Yoda,
Jump around.
and then it wasn't. It was
Did 17
the
somersaults.
puppet.
Kick the tree over.
Did you catch what Yoda said that Rey already has everything she needs, and that's because she had taken the books?
Oh,
See, I
I
didn't catch that.
I was wondering if anybody else caught that, and I thought it was stupid for thinking it because they're in the Millennium Falcon,
right.
correct?
She's joking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I liked how Yoda said it's a real page turner, and he was talking to Luke like, Luke was like, yeah, like you've read them, right? Luke's like, well, I thumbed through them.
I did read them.
I thought that was, and that was just,
I poured myself a nice glass of milk.
Cuddled up to my sea cow. We read it.
Yoda's like, disgusting, are you? You're not drink the green milk. You do not.
Now,
Luke's been having these massive
so now
LSD
we
trips.
begin the third act of the film.
well, let me ask one more question real quick too, though, since I thought I was the only one that caught the books, and I wasn't.
No, everybody saw it.
Yeah, anyway,
We saw everything.
good. Did anybody else expect Kylo Ren to say, "Join me and we will rule the galaxy" as brother and sister?
No, I didn't think they would go
minus
that
was
far.
Minus
expecting
the
that.
brother and sister part, I was like wanting him to do that. Underwhelming.
I
as
didn't.
John
I
has
didn't.
said
I didn't
over
think
and
they
over.
would go that far.
Underwhelming.
But anyways, so then we move on to the third
the
act.
third act,
Salt Planet.
Salt Planet, which
Red Velvet
was it a
Planet.
salt planet or was it a snow planet?
Salt.
There was
It was
salt
Okay,
It
then
was
beneath the
salt.
why
snow.
were there
You didn't.
crystal
You
creatures?
didn't. You didn't see the guy licking it. He's like,
I know they said it was salt.
Salt.
But why were
So they
there?
want to make sure it's not hot. It's not, we're not
why
doing
were
hot
there
again.
cr-
It's salt.
Why
wink,
were there
wink.
creatures made out of ice?
They weren't.
okay?
They were crystal.
Why were there creatures made out of ice? And why, when she moved all the rocks, was it snowing in that scene?
It was snowing salt.
It was blowing salt. It was not. It was not.
I hate you guys.
It was not snowing. It was
Well, when that guy first walks out there, I'm like, is that guy bleeding?
no. It was.
That's what I thought too.
It was.
It's like, why is this guy bleeding?
It was
and why
odd.
did that guy just lick his blood off the ground?
Yeah, the guy walks out. He's like scraping his foot. And the guy's like. I was like, oh my gosh, this place is nasty. And
Probably listens to the show.
They're hungry in the rebellion.
oh my goodness.
All
right.
Hold
So
on
they
one
start-
second, Aaron. We're gonna have to take a quick battery
All right.
break here. Be right back.
All right.
We had to change a battery out on our camera there real quick.
Aaron wanted to jump on Finn here for a second. I mean, not on Finn.
Okay. So every mission Finn does in this movie is a complete failure and does nothing to help the plot. So here's their next mission. There's a giant battering ram about to knock down the door of the base, so they get these old ships to go fight it. And Finn decides to do.
cannon.
So Finn's gonna do a suicide run, and at the last second, Rose runs into the ship and knocks him out of the way. I thought it would have been great if one of those characters had died right then.
Yeah.
Either
Yes.
Finn or Rose, one of them should have died blowing up the battering ram.
Yeah, we all agreed.
Well, yeah, exactly. Because the thing about it is and I agree with you on the Finn thing. And even through like the first movie, it's the same way. He fumbles his way through life, and that's not to
Even
take
as a
anything away from
stormtrooper.
him. Everything he's done, nothing seems to be successful. And here's this one opportunity to be a success, and this Rose character blows it for him. I mean,
Right.
literally, he's like, "I'm going to be the hero." Finally, I can't
And
let
you could have
die.
had Poe just be devastated, going, "Oh, he did a suicide run. Now I get what Leia was trying to tell me at the beginning." Blah blah blah.
Can,
I
can
tried.
we talk about how Finn's character really has no point? Like he doesn't. He's like, I know he.
I was
like,
thinking he was kind of an idiot the whole movie.
is he a love interest for Rey? Is he a love interest for Rose? Is there really a point to Finn? I mean, especially in this movie. The first movie, he had more of a point. In this movie, it's like they just had to make up a side plot for him. Like, let's send him to the casino planet to carry out Stuttering Lando's mission or whatever.
And I felt like The Force Awakens set up that he was going to have this gnarly spinal injury and have to recover and all this. And this movie was like, nah, who cares? He's just in a water bag at the beginning and whatever.
He's in a hot water bottle.
Charlie has something he wants to say, Aaron.
Charlie,
Oh, sorry, I lost for a second there.
we're waiting. We're waiting for you.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I specifically said
Charlie,
Charlie.
we have to be invited to the conversation.
I couldn't remember what it was because Aaron's talking about water bags.
Does that bring back
Like-
memories or something?
The
The
Hey,
adults
I work
were-
in a hospital.
The adults were talking there.
Yeah, the adults were talking earlier, and I was trying to get up from the kiddie table.
Sorry.
Anyway, so that's another thing that bothered me about the movie. And once again, I don't hate it. I like the movie, but you got an hour and 10 minutes of them trying to get the freaking tracker turned off, and it doesn't freaking work. It's
Yeah.
like, why waste our time
Exactly.
with this?
Just to introduce Stuttering
A
Lando.
2 hour and 33 minute film.
150 minutes.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, just
and just to fail. I mean, I understand, and you guys have kind of hit on it earlier, and then in the podcast as well. But like, well, they didn't want to be the polar opposite of Empire. No, they kept trying to be the Empire and tease it in front of us. Empire Strikes Back. Empire Strikes Back. Nope. Happier.
I will say
Empire
this.
Strikes Back.
Failure
Nope.
was the
happier.
Failure was the whole under theme of the movie to me.
And it shouldn't have been.
In the third film, if Finn does not have some kind of redeeming moment where he does something successful, either sacrifice himself or say something, then everything he has done in both of these movies is going to be pointless because he will never have a redeeming moment. And he needs a redeeming moment because he's a bubbling fool. It's like if I was in the rebellion, okay? Like give me a hammer and a nail and I'm going to like hit myself in the hand or something.
Oh, and I just thought about something else. Did anybody see Tag and Bink?
No.
no.
Well, that's supposed to be in the Solo film.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. So, anyways, there were some really cool moments on Salt Planet. We don't know any of these planets' names. Casino Planet, Salt Planet. The scene where Luke Skywalker shows up, okay, and
He's been to the salon.
he's been to the salon
tanning bed.
the tanning bed, and he's
Looking
got
good,
the
looking good.
got
Yeah.
the
Like, I'm
dice
healthy
and
looking.
everything.
Got his short
And
pants
I got
on.
super excited.
And everybody in the rebellion is just like in awe, like, oh my
The
god!
legend is in the
everybody in our
building.
theater, led by John, is like, they're doing Ewok
Ewok
dance. I mean, it's crazy.
I jumped up and went,
John,
"Oh,
John's got stormtrooper helmets and he's playing his drums and stuff. It's crazy. And he goes out there.
I tore my shirt off, looked like Kylo Ren."
Well, hold on. What does he give to Leia?
He gives
Talk about that.
the dice from the Millennium Falcon or whatever they
Which
yeah,
was-
and
which
Leia
is
should
a
have been like, "What
really-
are these?"
I don't remember those from the original movie.
Yeah, they dangle from they're there.
I didn't
You
know
see
it at
them.
all.
Yeah.
They never made a big point out of them.
No, they're
And it was
not.
kind of an Easter egg. They were hard to see, but they're there. But it's very hard to notice.
Yeah, but like I guess
Chewie keeps hitting them with his head in
I
Empire
guess-
Strikes Back.
yeah, I guess if you're John and you read the encyclopedia on Star Wars, you probably knew about them. Or something.
Yeah, well, I did.
So yeah, he gives
kinda
them the
thumbed
he
through
gives
it.
them the Leia.
Are they the dice that he
No,
won
They're
the?
actually just the astral plane of the dice.
Well,
They're not
but
even
yeah,
the real
but what I'm
dice.
saying, but aren't they supposed to be like the dice he won the Millennium Falcon on or something?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know, John.
Yeah.
What did you read in your Star
And
Wars?
the Sabak game or whatever they played.
Yeah, something. I can't remember exactly how it worked. Anyway, go ahead, Tim. We're sorry.
No, you guys.
And then
Go ahead.
then
Go ahead.
Luke
Talking again.
Luke makes a pass at C-3PO.
He's like,
Now,
"What's up, big guy?"
Was he winking at C-3PO because C-3PO could tell he wasn't really there because C-3PO is a droid and wasn't,
I don't know. C-3PO is kind of an idiot. He never really.
He
just-
was underwhelming in this film. Also,
I like him.
I mean, he could have been in it more, is what I mean.
yeah. And when we say underwhelming, that's what we mean. It's just some things should have been more of this or more of
so
that.
he goes out there, and that's a fantastic scene where Kylo Ren's like, "Shut up with everything we got."
Okay, when that first blast hit and the red rocks flew
It
everywhere,
looks
I
like-
thought he exploded.
it looked like they splattered him all over Salt
I
Planet.
thought just like with Leia, I thought, well, that was that.
Well, that was that. And there's that great scene which we haven't really touched on. That General Hux is a great character, and
He's fantastic.
he's just the whipping boy. And so Kylo, after they see that he's still alive, Kylo Ren's like, "Bring me down there," and General Hux like, "I don't know if that's a great." Well, bam! Throws him against the wall, and the other guy's like, "Right away, sir."
Well, and that's the thing with I thought with the Luke Skywalker thing is once again here we go. The scene they showed, and it was a greatly shot scene where they show Luke Skywalker standing out on the Salt Planet, and all those Imperial walkers are standing in front of him. And I thought, man, this is it. Here we go. Like Brian's saying, this emotional roller coaster. We're ready to go.
This is it. And Kylo Ren comes down there, and they're like having this big, massive battle. And you think Kylo Ren just destroyed him, like Darth Vader / Obi-Wan in the first movie.
And I was so upset. I was like, "Don't kill Luke!" I was mad.
I actually leaned over to Brian. I said, "I am not prepared for Luke Skywalker to die."
But see,
now.
I didn't expect him to die. I was
Well,
like,
he-
okay, he's gonna
Right.
we're gonna have this thing where he's going to force push Kylo Ren back, and all of a sudden he's going to, because he just survived every Imperial Walker in the First Order fleet, blowing him to pieces. He's going to crush them like tin cans.
Yeah. I wanted him to use the Force and make one of those things fall down.
Yeah,
Like,
or knock them all down.
Yeah, like I mean, at this point, we've had enough stupid comedy that he could have dominoed him over, and we could all laughed and smacked each other in the back or whatever. At
Yeah.
this point,
But it doesn't happen.
Stooges.
And all of a sudden, Kylo hits him with a lightsaber, and it goes through him. I thought, well, and like you said, Ben Kenobi. Here we go, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I thought
Good.
he was going to turn
Parallel.
around and all it was going to be was his robe on the ground. That's what I thought.
But I think we could have lived with that.
And someone said that when you saw Kylo Ren slide his feet across the rocks that show the red, like someone's like, "Oh my gosh, it's Luke's blood," or
Yeah.
we can't show that, but this is
Stupid
a
red.
symbolism.
Yeah,
you know.
and then it turns
But it's
around that it was
Conrad's.
just his astral plane or whatever that he projected over there. And I was like, I was okay with that. I was okay with it because
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker was still alive. He was back on the planet. He had done all this. And then he looks up in the sky. He sees the horizon.
Right.
He sees the
Well-
two suns. And he
I saw the two
freaking
sons. I was like,
dies.
oh no, not the two sons. No, don't do this movie. Don't do this.
And they kill Luke Skywalker.
But even worse than that, it's like he has to crawl back up on the rock,
Right.
and he's all sweating. He's like, The only thing he should have done was had like a cup of that green milk, like the green milk had finally gotten to him. He's like, and then he like disappears. And
So
movie.
we were all
I
we were all
don't-
just totally silent.
I don't know how to process this movie. This is my big problem with this movie is the final scene in Return of the Jedi is so happy. There's all our heroes are smiling at the camera. They're like, look, we're going to have a great life now. And then none of them have had a great life. Han dies this horrible way. Leia's, scrapping by, and
They're
Luke's been living on a
separated.
planet. It's depressing. It is depressing seeing all your heroes like this and then all dying. And it's like,
Well, and that's what I go back to, Aaron, from the beginning with the lightsaber, is that I think because here's the thing that I'm seeing, because a lot of the kids in my classes today went and saw it last night, and the younger generation of fans, because one of the teachers came up and talked to me today, and I think he's in his mid-20s, so he didn't live through Star Wars like we did, and he made a good point. I'll tell you what his point was here in a second. He said that I asked him about it. He said, "Oh, it was great. I loved it. I thought it was great." And all the kids were like, "Oh man, it was awesome." Susie sat there and wept, openly wept last night when Yoda showed
Weeps
up.
with every movie.
Well, when Yoda showed up, and I asked her, "Why'd you cry?" She said, "Because I remember when I was a little kid, that was the one character that I really liked was Yoda." And of course, she's 13, going on 14, so it isn't like she's 40 like me. And he made and my thing about it is it truly is a generational gap between
Right.
whether or not you think this movie is incredibly awesome, or you just kind of like us, where you're like, yeah, I liked it,
I think,
but it's underwhelming.
These are just not their heroes.
Well, and that's what I'm getting ready to say is because what he said today is that I asked him about that. I said, "Well, Empire." He said, "Well, here's the thing is that your generation saw these movies in a way to where everything was a shock to you, and you really became emotionally invested in Han Solo, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker." He said, "My generation already knew all the backstory, so we didn't live the generational growing up with these characters, just like with Empire Strikes Back. I mean, if you were in 1980, like we were, and like I
Wasn't
was,
alive in
and you see it the
1980.
first time, and he's like, 'No, I am your father,' it was what, but everybody." Like Susie's generation has always grown up with the lore of us telling her that, well, that's Luke Skywalker's dad. You never had that moment, and that's the point he made. So these new characters to them, the Rey and the Finn and the Poe and all of them, these are those emotionally connecting characters
And I
for
think
them.
that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to transition off these older characters and make you love these new characters. And I think if you're more of an older Star Wars fan, it upsets you. Whereas if you're a newer Star Wars fan, this is good for you because you're attached to the younger characters.
Well, and like Aaron, and like saying here, and he says that about the way they're quote unquote offing these characters. I mean, Luke Skywalker got a very noble end
He did
in this, and I think in any of these,
Han Solo got a noble end.
well, but
he
but
tried to save his son.
yeah, but at the same time, is they're expecting us, this generation, me, Brian, Charlie, you, Aaron, and all these, my wife, for instance, to just be like, oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's cool. Luke Skywalker, a lightsaber that we grew up with. That when my action figure lost his, I painted a toothpick blue and stuck it in his hand because Luke Skywalker had to have a blue lightsaber. And all of a sudden, in the first scene of this movie, you basically see him say, "Yeah, F it," and he throws it over his shoulder. That's to
We're gonna
me.
have to censor that.
No, I didn't say anything major bad. I'm just saying, but that's the way he did it. And the fact is that bugs me as a fan because that's not giving service to the generation that started these movies and put them on the map. It's us. It's that did that. And I'm not saying you shouldn't move on. Rogue One was incredible. Rogue One was an incredible movie. But this movie kind of flippantly disrespected the rest of the genre and even the older fans. And I know I'm being gripey about it and it sounded stupid, but it makes me, it irks me that
John
they would do
is
that.
sleepy.
Oh, I am. I'm seething with it on this because I wanted to like the movie so much. I wanted to love this film,
Right.
and I didn't get an opportunity to do that because here they are. They're throwing this, and then like Aaron's saying, the characters are all the characters that you were. Admiral Akbar dies.
And it was a throwaway line.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm sorry. That was my
Now
rant.
we lost all
Yeah.
of the generals, including Admiral
but I really
Akbar.
did.
What?
But I did
We
really.
just lost Akbar.
He's like,
So now we spent almost 2 hours talking about how much we hate it. Can we go around the room and do over the phone the scene we liked real quickly?
Yeah.
We want to do that. I'm sorry, we just kind of threw that in there.
I just want to do that so Brian will talk.
Well, that's kind of my point as well.
Because Brian just has been over there sleeping half the
Brian-
time.
Brian, what'd you think of the movie, Brian?
It's what I've said earlier tonight. It's just to me, it was an emotional roller coaster. It was like these real moments of high, like yes, Kylo and Rey are going to get together. This is what we've been waiting for. Oh, we're going to find out what her parents are. Nope, we're not going to do that. Oh, Luke Skywalker's alive. Nope, no, he's not. Now we're at the end, and it's like, so now Kylo's the baddest dude in the galaxy, and he's gonna kill Rey. I mean, what's the point of the third one now?
I mean,
Leia basically gave over command to Poe there in the cave when she was like, "Why are y'all looking at me for? Follow him." I mean, it's
which was a good scene.
I mean, there's
yeah,
only
but I mean,
six
it's
of us,
like now.
but
But now she's
Yeah,
dragged on.
he's
into
like,
the third,
thanks.
Yeah, but now she's dragged on into the third movie now. To do what? Hobble around?
Well,
I mean,
I think Aaron said to me earlier today he thinks she's going to die in the next scroll of the film. It's going to just be like
It'll be like it's 10 years later, Leia's dead.
yeah, with the passing of blah blah blah. Oh, Demerara.
it might be, but again, it just I don't know. This movie left me with no direction on where to go, what to look forward to in the next.
Okay,
one.
but good stuff. What did you love?
What's your favorite scene?
My
in the
favorite
film?
scene in the whole movie was the fight scene with Rey and Kylo.
What's good?
versus the Praetorian Guard
Can't hear you, Charlie.
versus the Praetorian Guard, the
Yeah.
red dudes.
Yeah, that whole scene where
The
where
space
the whole
samurais.
scene where Snook is trying to get her to basically join him,
So
kind of
from
throw Kylo to
where
the
she
side.
gets in the same room with Snoke
Yeah.
until they stop
until
Okay,
until
yeah, I
they
gotcha.
blow the lightsaber apart.
Yeah.
The one thing I would like to have seen there is how she got away on Snook's transport,
Yeah,
because Kylo wakes up and she's already gone. It would have been nice to kind of figure out like,
still would have been a good ending right there.
yeah, just like, oh, she ran off now. Okay, well, what's going to happen now?
That was a good scene though. Really good scene.
Tim, favorite scene.
I love that scene. I love the porgs. I love the opening scene. But to me, Yoda and Luke, like that scene was just a great scene for me. Like, because it's vintage Yoda, and Yoda is doing what he's always done with Luke, putting him in his place and calling him out for being a fool. And it makes Luke realize, and it leads Luke down the path he needs to go. But I think that was just a nice callback, and I really enjoyed that scene.
John?
Luke and R2D2.
Yep.
That was probably the one scene in the movie that really made me go back in time to Empire Strikes Back. And it was that scene because you had R2D2 and Luke Skywalker on the same screen for the first time in about almost 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that scene was incredible. If you're talking about Star Wars action, the opening scene where Poe Dame's sitting out in front of the dreadnought with in one X-wing,
taking out all the
all the canon stuff, and that scene there really said Star Wars to me. My thing about it is that it was a Star Wars movie. I mean, it was a beautifully done movie, but there was just so much they could have done different.
Lots of filler.
So much they could have done different, and that scene was good. I liked the fight scene between Finn and Phasma again. I thought that was a great. That scene's in the trailer. I thought, man, and it was. It didn't leave me. I liked it. I mean, I thought it was a good scene. You always got to go back to the scene with her and Kylo kind of doing the back-to-back Jedi fight against the Praetorian guards. Good. That one was a great one, and it throughout. It's just got really really good scenes. But I would say the one that I liked best was the R2D2 Luke Skywalker reunion, especially when he showed her when R2D2 shows him the "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope" again, and he was like, "That's low," or I can't remember what he said, but that was really cool the way they put that together, and I really like that.
I'm with Brian. I think that the fight scene with Rey and Kylo was the best part. It was my favorite scene, even though it didn't end the way I wanted it to. I wanted that to happen. That's one of the things that I came into the film looking forward to have happen. And everything you mentioned was great. It just that was the one scene for me. Like, I am glad that I came to see this movie for this one part, even though it didn't end the way I wanted to. Yeah. I'm glad that this is in here because I was really hoping it would be. Aaron, what's your favorite scene?
The Kylo Ren Rey scene, but a close second was Laura Dern's sacrifice.
Yeah,
but I thought. Like I said earlier, if it had been Leia or even Akbar, that scene would have been so much more powerful.
Right.
If Akbar had crashed that ship, because I just felt like we didn't know this character, Laura Dern's character, I think. But if it had been Akbar, and him saying it's been a pleasure serving with you, Princess, and he just crashes the ship, that would have been amazing.
I just don't know why they had to they could have put Akbar in her role. Laura Dern's role, and I think it would have been better.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, and that's
we would have been more invested in.
Well, and going back to I don't want to go back and trash it because we're trying to end on a high note here. Well, but I agree with that because Akbar is a man by the book, and that would have been and Poe Dameron
he would have been Captain Goes Down with his ship.
Yeah, and Poe Dameron would not have had any real, like I said, allegiance to him. He could have been doing the same thing that she did, and then Poe could have had his mutiny and all that against Akbar. And we, the older crowd, once again, emotionally invested. That would have been a punch to the gut. But at the same time, it would have been a
like, oh man, way to go.
You'd have saluted him as he went out because it would have been awesome. Yeah. But overall, the thing about it is, and here's my thing is. I know it sounds like we've been trashing it tonight, but I'm gonna go and see it again on Monday. I'm headed back on Monday to see this.
Beautiful Brent and Handsome Brad haven't seen it, so I'm sure I'll probably go catch it with them again.
And I'm almost positive that now that I've seen it once and have kind of getting over the shock of what it wasn't because of the, like I keep saying, underwhelming. That I think Monday I may come out of it liking it more because I'm not going to go in looking or having any I'm not going to have any hype behind it.
The one Easter egg I did like was the X-wing in the water on the island. I did like that.
Yeah,
I thought that
was
a
nice
little thing. Like,
I thought she was going to pull that out at some point.
Oh, I did too.
I thought he was. I thought when she left,
and that's how he was going to
in the X-wing or in the Millennium Falcon, I thought he was going to lift that guy up and go on.
Yeah, I did too.
Don't know why I turned into a minister for a second. Go lift it and go.
Do what, Aaron?
So 2 final questions. What did we think of the last scene of the movie? This is the first question.
When she's lifting all the
with
rocks
the little
off.
kid.
Tiny Tim.
Well, I like it more now that I asked Tim and Brian about it earlier. Said, did he force move that broom?
Yeah.
And because it happened quick, and I wasn't quite sure. I don't know if I was getting a piece of popcorn out of the bag at that point, or I was trying to find my hat. One of the two.
Because you thrown it in the air.
Because I was like, woo! And I was like, hey, excuse me, sir, could you hand me that hat? I was needing to, but I liked it. I thought it was this. If they'll do it right, if they do it right, because they didn't really connect well between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. If they connect it right, they could use that scene to jump into the next trilogy and make that kid the hero.
Or you could have Rey training that kid the next movie.
Yeah, however you want to do it.
See,
I thought.
Go ahead, Aaron.
I thought that scene was out of place. I thought if this was episode 9, then yeah, there's going to be another generation after this.
The whole point of all of it was because there was the spark, and it was bringing along a new thing, spark, and so this kid was the spark.
But I would have been better off.
So is this kid the last
I would have
Jedi?
liked it better though if he didn't use the Force.
It
Like
seemed
let him
it-
have that ring and like that there was that little spark of the rebellion that was planned there. He didn't have to have the Force to be
I
part of the
agree.
rebellion.
Well, but I
agree.
think the point they're trying to make is that the Force is this overwhelming that affects more
Luke
than just
explained
a
that
certain little
it's
small
everything.
group.
But are we going to find out who this kid's parents are?
No, we're not going to because I mean it's like he's
It's one of those
He'll be a
cheap
toss-away
courses.
Well, but I think what they're trying to get to is because you had this time period. Here we go, and we got to shut this thing down here in a second. But you had this time period in the pre New Hope era, in the prequel era, and before that, to where the Force was a prevalent thing in everybody. It seems like in their life,
Sure.
the Jedi were real. The Jedi were everybody saw them.
I
They
am
knew
one
what
with
the
the
powers they
Force.
had. They understood it. And then you have the Imperial era where they basically it's Darth Vader and Palpatine who control anything that has to do with the Force.
Yeah.
And Luke Skywalker comes in. So now what you have is, and then Luke Skywalker after Return of the Jedi, it's almost as if the Force in and of itself
They
has gone to sleep,
Sure.
has disappeared from the galaxy, and everybody kind of sees it as a legend. And now with Rey coming onto the scene, and Kylo Ren, this age of, I guess what we consider to be age of heroes is trying to restart.
Sure.
And so the Force has reawakened within the galaxy, and so people who are Force sensitive are now being able to do things with it that they couldn't do before.
I
Agreed.
mean I get that, but it's still to me the whole point of the movie was not about the Force. It was about resisting and rebelling against what's left of the Imperial Force, or now the New Order. It was all about
maybe
being
they're
a
setting
rebel.
up. Maybe they're setting up movie 9.
Maybe they are.
Aaron, last question.
This little kid's
Last
committed
question, real
Koreans are
quick.
gonna be off the chart.
This director Ryan Johnson, it's been announced he's going to make a new trilogy. Are you more excited about that trilogy now, or less excited after seeing this movie?
I'm worried.
No.
I'm worried. I won't say I'm less excited because I'll always get excited about a Star Wars movie, even the Han Solo movie. I want to see it, but I think I'm worried about the direction they're allowing him to go, and that's a problem I have. Is that this was a Star Wars movie, but it teetered really close into being a Star Wars movie in name only.
There'll be the scene in the Han Solo film where he meets Chewie for the first time, and Chewie just picks him up and throws him over his shoulder.
What's going to be great is the next trilogy is set on Casino Planet.
Only that's only it's an
And
only.
It's all about.
It's like Miami
It's
Vice.
all about parking tickets.
It's an Ocean's 11.
It's like cops. They follow around the guards of Casino City.
Oh, my
writing
goodness.
tickets to people that park illegally on the
Well,
beach.
final word from me tonight on it is because we've done 2 podcasts this week on this movie, and no matter what we say or what we think, I think the main thing is on any Star Wars movie or any movie that we say is go see it and draw your own conclusions. I mean, that's what it boils down to.
Except for Justice League. We didn't say that. Just
No, Justice League was terrible, but
Go see Thor
My
Ragnarok.
man.
because at the end of the
If
day,
Yoda would have got down there and went,
Okay,
my man.
but look at it this way: at the end of the day, regardless of if it's a perfect Star Wars movie like Empire Strikes Back or this, we're still getting Star Wars movies. I mean, I know it's kind of like okay, it was a good Star Wars movie.
Sure.
It wasn't great, but if it was still like George Lucas's decision, we would never see another one again.
Yeah.
So them keeping the story alive and continue to do it, and you can't hit a ball out of the park every time you get up the bat. And so
You gotta hit singles too, man.
yeah. So I think
This is a
that
dribbler down first.
maybe they'll look at this and they'll learn something
Bunch.
from this one and do something else.
Let me
with
just
episode
say
9.
one last thing, John, as we're wrapping up.
Everybody's
What
got
would have
one
made this movie better is if Luke Skywalker, when he drank that milk, would have wiped his mouth off and said, "My milk." It would have been so
Oh my
good.
gosh.
That's how we end the podcast. It's kind of like the end of the last Jedi. Like,
Yeah. Well, have a good week.
Sorry,
And
Brent.
go see it. May the force be with you.
I mean, I didn't say sorry
See you
for the
later,
last
players.
one.
You're gonna like Aquaman and Blue Milk. I guarantee
love
it.
Somebody in the Star Wars movie, I guarantee.
You're gonna love Finn.
I would have loved Finn if he'd have cracked